welcome back to the Feminist Frame, where we discuss our favorite movies, books, TV shows, and all other pop culture through a feminist lens. Today we're here to discuss the Netflix series Dead to Me. The surprisingly dark dramedy stars Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini as two widows who meet and make fast friends in grief counseling. The show offers quick wit, well-paced comedy, and some twists that manage to subvert expectations. Warning, this will be a spoiler-ridden discussion. If you have not finished the entire first season, please bookmark this episode to come back once you have. I'm Aubrey. Here to discuss with me is my always lovely co-host, Olivia.
Hi, friends.
And our guest, Lauren.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Diving in, what did you guys think? Olivia?
I really enjoyed it. I went into it not knowing at all what this was about. I didn't read any summaries or synopses or anything like that, and I was pleasantly surprised. I laughed. I was shook with, not terror, but like, holy shit, that just happened. Many times. It got dark. It was light and funny. Like, I don't know. It's a weird balance that you don't normally see. So I really enjoyed it and look forward to a second season.
What about you, Lauren?
I agree with Olivia. I went in it, like, blindfolded, basically. I was just, like, scrolling through Netflix one afternoon, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch this. I love Christina Applegate.
Yeah,
I always
anything
have.
with her.
Yeah, like, she is amazing, and I had no idea. Like, I felt like the balance was perfect between, like, comedy and, you know, the darkness between it, and it was really awesome. I loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah, I was the same. I think Netflix knows me at this point. They were heavily advertising it to me really early, and I was like, you know what? Fine. Like, whatever. I'll watch your stupid show. You keep showing me the trailer every 5 seconds every time I turn on this program. So... And then I was, like, instantly hooked. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a comedy. I did not see how dark it was coming. Mm-hmm. And then, like, even when it did have twists, and we'll dive into all of those, like, I think they did a really good job bringing, like, having, like, a twist and then bringing a lot of complexity behind it.
Yeah.
You know, especially with Linda Cardellini's character.
Absolutely.
So once they, like, did something, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a little expected. But then they would turn it on its heel again and be like, oh, all right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I really loved it. And then I think I started being like, everybody watch this show.
Which is why we're now podcasting about it.
So, yeah, talking about those characters, too, I also love Christina Applegate. And her character in this is, like, my soul sister. I really struggle with, like, saying no to people, you know, and, like, not just accepting, like, every invite I get or whatever. And I love her character's ability to do that and just be like, no. Can I hug you? No. Do you want to go out together? No. It was just one of my favorite things is just her character being rude, and I loved it.
I actually love the not hugging people thing because I feel like I get a lot of shit sometimes for not, like, wanting to hug or, like, just, like, me looking incredibly awkward, like, when people want to hug me. And, like, and you can ask most people, like, I'm not a big hugger. And then, so, like, just to see her, like, just be like, no, like, don't touch me. Like, because I usually fall into a, like, I will stand here stiff as a board looking awkward as fuck while you kind of, like, wrap your arms around me and pat a little bit. So it's just like, I should say no to hugs more whenever I feel really uncomfortable about them. Like, that's the thing that I'll do.
Yeah, well, you should say no if you're
don't touch my body.
Yeah. In general.
Well, and a lot of times, I don't know, like, especially, like, whenever it's from, like, you know, she says no to Judy's hug, you know, when she first meets her. So it's a lot of times, like, things like that where it's, like, women, like, that are your friends that, like, want to hug you sometimes and you're still just like, I don't know, I'm not a hugging person. Like, and you could just say no. It's fine. So a lot to learn from Jen or Christina Applegate's character there.
Well, Judy, on the other hand, though, was probably pretty invested in that hug from Jen.
Yeah, right, because like, all she wants
needed that.
Like this sort of affirmation from her. I love the dynamic between these two characters. So, like, Jen is spending the whole season just incredibly angry at the person who, you know, hit and ran and killed their husband. And I love, like, she's, like, trying to track down the car. And this is, as someone with, like, a little bit of an urban planning background and is a cyclist who, like, is constantly complaining about how people drive. Oh, I loved that part of it. Is just, like, her being like, slow the fuck down. I'm like, yes. And, like, aggressively going after cars that speed. It was amazing.
For sure.
And then her listening to, like, death metal to, like, get out some of her anger. Just those scenes are really funny.
A couple of weeks ago, I was biking through the park, and it was at night, and in Tower Grove Park, which you cannot speed in, someone was, like, speeding and, like, right behind me, and I was pissed. And there was a cyclist, like, a little bit ahead of me, and he was very pissed, too, and I can't keep up with anyone, obviously, but he bicycled up to that car as fast as he could till he got to Grant and was, like, yelling at him in the window.
Oh, wow.
I have done that before, but I've been asked not to by my loved ones.
Yeah. But there's a safety issue, I think, involved there sometimes.
So I definitely appreciated that, though.
Yeah, no, her, like, going after that car with a bat and then being like, I don't know what you're talking about, was so great. But yeah, on the other hand, we have Judy who quickly, that, like, first twist with her, which is that her fiance husband isn't dead, that Steve is very much alive.
Which is at the end of the first episode.
Right away you figure that out.
Yeah.
Because she comes over to the house that she says she lived at and then, like, discovers he's there. And I felt like right away we're like, okay, well, she's like a crazy liar who just wants to inject herself. And then she says this whole thing about the miscarriages or whatever. And I very much, like, expected to never believe anything she said again. And then they kind of subvert and, like, all of that's true. She really did suffer all these miscarriages. He admits it later after saying, you know, she's crazy and whatever. And then, like, when Jen goes to sell the house, like, she actually sees this room, and it's very real. Like, they were far along enough to have a complete baby room. Anyway, I just kind of love that, because I feel like they could have went, like, this really easy route with her character. And it is the fact that she's very complex and, like...
I definitely wasn't expecting, like, with Judy's character, like... So the first one where you find out her husband's still alive, and I'm just like, okay, like, is she some kind of, like, sociopath that gets off on other people's pain?
Yeah.
You know, and you're kind of, like, thinking that way.
Or
and
just
then,
a pathological liar, you know?
Yeah,
like,
just, like, I don't... Or one of those folks that are, like, seeking, like, attention-seeking, you know, and, like, make up things for, like, sympathy. So I thought she was, like, kind of, like, delusional in that sense. And then you find out she's not, you know, and there's a very real, you know, loss that had happened. But then, I don't know, it just goes so many ways, because later when we find out
what actually happened.
Yeah, and then that they were the ones that hit Ted, Jen's husband. Like, I was just like, okay, is this lady, like, psycho? Did she, like, know Jen was the wife? Like, what is she doing here? Yeah. And, like, none of those things seem to be true.
I did very much, like, I think she definitely sought out Jen. That was, like, her way of, like, trying to get some sort of forgiveness, was to just, like, go to this person. Which, and I think, even though you're like, whoa, you're a psychopath at first, but then you think about it more and you're like, if you were dealing with this grief and didn't know what to do and felt awful, like, you would maybe want to, like, figure out what's going on with his family and see how they're dealing and stuff like that. I mean, I would never do anything that she does in the show, but I think it does, like, track, like, you know what I mean, like, what you would be feeling with. So
I don't know, I guess maybe I was, like, watching it, you know, one eye on the TV, one eye on my, like, kitchen stove or something, because I thought she had come into it, like, for, like, the loss, for, like, you know, her miscarriages.
No,
and
she
then
definitely
was, like,
purposefully went.
Steve, like, it's her husband that we hit, you know, like, and I thought that moment was her being like, holy fuck.
She sought her out.
Yeah.
And wanted to come help. And she kind of says later on, like, that she just wanted to do whatever she could do to help the family.
Yeah. I think she was looking for Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I think Linda Cardellini does such a good job in kind of like showing that complexity. But even on Jen's side with what a private person she is, I don't know that like learning that, and even though I would feel bad for her, I would immediately then be like, move into my house. This should be good. But I think, you know, and we're going to talk about like those like female friendships and like how rare they are to find, that it is kind of like Jen isn't someone who has a lot of connections with people, and for whatever reason she does with Judy. And so she just is drawn to her. But yeah, the finding out that it actually was her who, in what episode is that? Like 2 or 3? It's fairly early.
It's pretty early because a lot of the episode is kind of like her tracking like the investigation, being like, oh,
yeah,
is that how you find somebody? Okay, let me go. You know,
with the cop that she's dating.
So I feel like that, you know, it's pretty early.
Who I love.
Oh yeah,
by the way, that
great voice. I love the karaoke scene.
Yeah, I really feel bad for him that he just gets really used in this too.
I know. Oh God,
which obviously
so wonderful and
Steve
beautiful.
Is such like a weakness for her, you know. But I did feel really bad.
Yeah, like it almost felt like wasteful, I guess, whenever, so I guess we're just gonna get into it. Whenever like they kind of get together, her and the cop, Judy and the cop, and then Judy thinks that she's pregnant, but has only slept with Steve since and hasn't slept with the cop.
Yeah.
So she like dumps him immediately, and then like it turns out, you know, she's actually not pregnant.
Early menopause, which is, Judy is fucking heartbreaking to me.
Oh my God, yeah.
Her entire person like broke my heart from the very first episode till the end. All I wanted to do was hug her because she's going through the worst things, and also she's in a very emotional, abusive relationship.
And so that's what I think, like, you know, after the cop or whatever, you know, and you're like, well, you're not even pregnant, and Steve's not going to be with you. Like, no, you broke up with him for no reason, but like because of Steve, like she's never going to be in that emotional space to like be able to like actually fulfillingly have that relationship with the detective. So,
and I do, it is like I think they do a good job at first whenever they see that baby room and like Steve can't bear to walk in there. I think they do a good job of bringing him a little bit of complexity too.
Yeah, for sure.
Jen brings it. Christina Applegate / Jen, like she brings it to the table of like, well, he couldn't even walk in there.
Yeah.
Brings his feelings.
I mean, we see that scene too. I mean,
sure.
James Marsden, the actor, you know, you see it on his face, and like,
love James Marsden, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
I was really happy with him in this role. But and then like whenever Judy goes into the office and I love that interaction. I think it's so funny with the secretary because they're like,
"Hey, girl,
you really can't walk in there, girl." And like, blah, blah, blah. Like this has clearly happened before. You know what I mean? So they do set us up with a little bit of like the Judy is crazy trope, and then they kind of dismantle it with his actions that he gets away with.
Oh, for sure. Like you totally think she's being set up to be like the
this
complete
absolute
nutso
psychopath. Yeah,
because that's his first scene is him telling Jen, hey,
She's
Judy's crazy.
Yeah.
But then you see their first scene together, which is before when she walks into the office, when they're in her work at the nursing home, when he like touches her. And she's like, ow, don't touch me. And he's like, I'm sorry. She's like, that's okay. She always says, it's okay. It's okay. And that to me, it like, it just broke my heart. Every time he was like, he would hurt her physically and mentally. She would be like, or when he was yelling at her, she's like, don't yell at me. He'd say sorry, and she'd be like, that's okay. Like,
and like as you go on, like you see like how much more like he's been the one that's like manipulative and like pushes her and stuff.
For sure.
And she kind of like, you know, you're like, hey,
I
she's
think
not
he might
crazy,
have been driving the car.
You know?
They have flashbacks. He's not driving.
He's so
I don't
manipulative. I think he might have been the one that's driving the car.
You know, if they would have, well, we're just going to do it. If they would have kept him alive